Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's June 12th, 2025. Great to be with all of you today. My name is Bob Lang. It's time for our daily bites. No music this morning. We got a little bit of a late start here, but and this is kind of going to be a little bit of a brief daily bites today. So let's talk about the markets here. So got off to a really nice start Monday, Tuesday. Markets are up nicely and got a little bit of a retreat yesterday. It looks like we may be headed for a little bit of a retreat so far today. My futures are well off their lows. However, though, the futures did take a tumble early this morning after a plane crash in India. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner went down, and they're trying to investigate that and see what the potential reason for that crash was. As is usually the case with a name like Boeing, it's shoot first, ask questions later. So the stock has been taking a hit this morning. Similarly, GE, General Electric, Aviation has also been taking a bit of a hit, but it's rallied also back off of the lows of the day as well. So what are we looking at right here? Well, we had the PPI number that came out this morning, a little bit better than expected on the month over month and the core number. But I think people are still a little bit hesitant here, waiting to see another data point, perhaps the June number and maybe even the July number, before they're going to get convinced that a rate cut is going to happen. I certainly think that after yesterday's CPI release, and then you throw in there today's PPI release, that a discussion about rate cuts has to be made at next week's meeting. Full stop. I think that the data is telling you that inflation has been coming down the last 3 months. Certainly with the CPI number has been coming down significantly, and yesterday's core number came in at 0.1. So what is that on an annualized basis? That's 1.2. That is below the Fed's preferred range of 2%, roughly 1.8 to 2.2%. So it's below that range right now. So the data is telling you that they're winning the war against inflation. Prices are starting to stabilize. So that's a positive, certainly, for markets. It's a positive for the economy. And we haven't seen much influence on the dollar yet. But I think eventually, if the economy remains strong, then we're going to see some strength in that greenback. So the thing about it is that jobs number from last week was good, but it's still trending down. We still have quite a few jobs being created every single month, but wage inflation was there last week. That's also something that's going to be on the table to be talked about next week at the meeting. But by and large, I think the economy is in a really good spot right here. And with inflation coming down, there really may not be any reason to have rates at 4.25% on the Fed funds for too much longer. So it's been my guess and estimate here that the Fed was not going to be cutting rates this year, but prove me wrong. It could certainly be a change in that estimate later on this year. First Fed rate cut that the Fed funds futures are looking at is in September. Next one would be maybe in October, and then maybe possibly one in December. So the Fed funds futures market is looking at, now they're looking at 2.5 rate cuts. They were looking at 2 rate cuts about a week or so ago. So it's the futures market is looking for more cuts than what the Fed has promised. Of course, next week's Fed meeting, we're going to have those projections for June, and we'll see what they have to say. Of course, the last projections that came out in March said that the Fed was looking at 2 rate cuts in 2025. Lots of things have changed since then. We had a meeting between Chair Powell and President Trump. We also had the Liberation Day. We also had the day that a week later that followed that said there was going to be delay in tariffs. And we really didn't see much price effect from the tariffs yet on consumer goods as of yesterday, but we'll see what happens over the next couple of months. I think the Fed is taking a much more cautious and guarded approach here, and which is a smart thing to do. So our earnings last night, strong from Oracle. Look at that stock. You can see it here is up 8.5% right here. I think the stock's got more legs to the upside here. We have some calls in this one. We actually did buy some puts as well too, just to be on the safe side to protect our position. But the long call side is going to do extremely well today. I think that this stock's got room to about 215 to 220. Take a look at this one. You might want to add some calls, maybe out to September, August, September, maybe even October for this one. It's probably going to move a little bit slower than it is today, but certainly that was a lights out number. They have 100% backlog in orders as well too. So that's going to show up over the next couple of quarters. And I think these analysts have already started to make some adjustments to their price targets and on Oracle. So that's going to be it. I do know we have a couple of earnings coming out later tonight. We have RH coming out and Adobe. These two stocks have been extremely challenged. The charts are horrible on these two names. Probably going to stay away from those right here until unless they can prove something to me over the next couple of days. And you know, it's been a pretty good month of June, but you know, actually, you know what, we don't really have too much going on until the end of the month. We have next week, we have a holiday on Thursday. We also have options expiration next Friday, the day after that holiday, and then we have the end of the month coming up on the 30th, which is actually a Monday. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. Not a whole heck of a lot in terms of earnings, some data coming out, but after that Fed meeting, things can slow down a little bit. We could see some rebalancing in the Russell 2000. That index has been rather strong over the past couple of weeks. Might be slowing down a little bit here today, but we might see a little bit of action there before the end of the quarter. So I think it's going to be it, everyone. Have a great day. Appreciate all of you spending a little bit of time with me. We'll be back on Monday with a new edition of the Daily Bites. And if you're in the chat room, I'll see you there. And as usual, you know, take things slow today. Take your time, loosen up some capital, raise some cash, have some puts on. I have some puts on right now. They're gonna help me add some more calls if I wish to a little bit later on today. I'm gonna book some profits on some of those puts today as well. You know, just same old routine every single day, right? Play it cautiously and look for the breakouts, look for the momentum movers for you, and take some profits when you can. Have a great trading day. Have a great weekend. I will see you guys all on Monday. Take care. Bye.